spinning. That's kind
There,
of like
there,
my brain in the morning, isn't it?
it is. But we are live
Kind of
now. The red
spinning.
light is on, Rebecca. We are live. We are here. We are
Perfect,
ready
perfect.
to go.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. As you can tell, we are traveling this morning, so we are heading to the great state of Texas. I was very much looking forward to a little warmer weather, but I think we brought the cold with us because right now we are in a winter storm watch. They're talking inches of snow and 32 degrees. So,
That's all right.
other
It
than
is. It
that,
is winter time. So, well, Rebecca,
I know.
you brought a topic today that I think is pretty exciting, and it was I used last night's email to really promote this on social media this morning, and about the potential that ego or defensiveness can have in barriers to growth and things of that nature. And when we think about personal and professional growth, we have to look at anything that creates a barrier. Would
All
you
right. Yeah. I have a list of them.
do you
Yes. So
do you want to
ego was just one of them. Ego was just one of them. But,
yeah.
we've been talking about awareness and, but what prevents us from being aware? Last week we talked about um, maybe how others perceive us, being aware of how others perceive us. But this was one of the things sometimes we have to go back to the beginning. And when we're learning about awareness and the things to become aware of and overcome in our life, what stops us and prevents us from being aware? And the like I said, the ego and the defensiveness, that was number one out of the 10. But that's the first part.
Now, why do you say that's number one?
Because I think it's kind of a big part of it. Um, Defensiveness for me, especially. Um, when we're doing things that maybe we don't realize or we don't want to admit, is it's the way that we do things. And I think we get a little defensive. And I know for me, it usually I get defensive and then I'll go back and think about it and then I'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe there's a point.
Yeah.
And, so it's kind of, but it takes a minute. And here again, it's kind of that cycle because you have to be aware of the defensiveness.
You have to be aware really of anything that is preventing your personal growth. Let me give you a quick story. This happened several years ago, probably 3 years ago. I was meeting with a leader out in California, and a pretty good leader. It's an individual who does quite a bit of work in the agriculture industry and is pretty prominent there. But I made a comment to him because he said, I need help. I need help growing my network and really being successful in what I'm doing. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. The people that you're already working with, they're other entrepreneurs, right? And there are other people that you respect. I'm sure they respect you. But I said, if you really want to grow, you need to be able and willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And he goes, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, what if you were to take one of your clients, one of your dealerships to maybe just take them out for dinner and just ask them this question: what is it like for you to sit on the other side of the table from me as it pertains to leadership? What's it like for you to work under my leadership? And he refused to do it. In fact, he took major offense to it. And even though he was asking for help, when it come right down to being vulnerable, he absolutely would not do it. And I mean, in fact, it really kind of hurt our relationship over that one recommendation. And I always wondered, what was the deal there? What happened that caused that to go south so fast? And as I started to really evaluate it, even some follow-up phone calls with him and come to realize that there was a defensiveness there and an ego that he was afraid of learning that maybe he had done something wrong. He had fear of learning that maybe he had made a mistake, that he wasn't as good as he thought he was, and he just simply didn't want to know. And I remember thinking that that's actually was the first time that that's ever happened. Most leaders are like, yeah, absolutely, I'll step in, I'll do that. Absolutely. Makes total sense. But he didn't. And I found out that that barrier that he was struggling with later on, I mean, this was several months later, I found out that that was actually just part of his culture and part of the family environment that he grew up in. If you were a leader, had a position of authority, you just simply didn't question that authority. You had that leadership, and that was all there was to it. And that was part of the reason why he took such offense to it. So it was definitely a learning opportunity for me, and I think it was a learning opportunity for him.
Oh, that'll be a great dinner conversation for you and I one of these nights.
Why is that?
We can sit and talk about what it's like to sit across from
From each
what
other?
it's like. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I got some things I could share.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that'll be
All
good.
right. So, so a couple of the other uh, barriers to that we need to work on around awareness is one of them is the lack of reflection time. You know, if we don't, we get very busy. You know, we get busy in our life, sometimes doing nothing. But we get very busy and we don't sit down and um, you know, it's reflection time, but it's evaluating. It's evaluating our day, our week, how things have gone, how what could have been better, what could have changed, and do we spend enough time doing that? Because, you know, it's that self-evaluation that that we need to work on.
Yep. So expand on that a little bit more, Rebecca. You're pulling these ideas up from somewhere. Where is some of that coming
My
from, and what?
brain thinks
But I mean, what's causing you to bring these topics up?
because I think sometimes, you know, we talk about awareness so much, but we don't talk about maybe the things that are stopping us from doing it. You know, we talk about being aware and what to do after, but we don't really discuss the before, you know, the how we got here, the things that maybe um, getting in our way. You know, we talk. I One of my biggest things is I get in my own way so many times of doing things, and these are part of it. This is, you know, our first step to personal development. Our first and our six steps of personal development is awareness. And like I said, it's that cycle, being aware of the things that are preventing you from being aware is is the first step. You've got to, you know, one of the things that it says is to set aside some time every morning or every night. You know, I would prefer myself to do morning because I'm awake. You know, by the time I get to nighttime, my mind has shut down and it's like we've had enough for the day. But just setting a little time aside to reflect on that and to think about uh, you know, the things that you are becoming aware of and how to move past them.
Yep. Yep. Well, you made mention of, the first step of personal growth and development is that awareness step, that awareness stage. And in that stage, when you're really thinking about what it is that you need to start with, that first phase of personal growth and development, um, it's not always easy. And a lot of times that's where the coaching comes in, right? That's where the conversations come in to look at this. Maybe it's the six pillars of success, right? We have six main pillars that we talk about. One of the pillars is awareness, but the other ones are communication, leadership, management, emotion control, and accountable action. Those are six pillars that are very, very important in any business, in any organization. And sometimes it's just a matter of which one of those should we focus on first, right? Which one are you strong in? Which of the six do you have strength in? Which are you weak in? Which of those areas are needing the most work? Because each one of those areas contain areas of character skills that need to be strengthened if you're going to really be successful in the marketplace.
That was like a little mini commercial in the middle of our podcast of the six pillars. That was like a good plug for our six
Yeah, I
pillars.
never even
Good job.
thought about that, but that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Anyway,
great. Yeah.
anyway, you know, so there's about 10 barriers. There's about 10 barriers that you can look at. And everybody's got their same with everybody's got their different growth plan and their different success stories and what things mean. Everybody's got different barriers.
Yep. Yep.
So thinking about that, you just need to think of what are the things that prevent you from being aware. One of them is, are you uncomfortable? Does it make you uncomfortable? Does it make you uncomfortable to think of the things that maybe you do, or some people take over conversations a lot and don't even realize it,
Hmm.
but helping them to become aware of that. I'm just kidding. I'm picking on you. You didn't even know it.
No, I caught it. I just wasn't paying attention to it. How about that one?
Okay, so one of the other awareness things is not paying attention to the things that you need to be aware of. But a couple of the other things are fixed mindset. If you have your mindset on something, it's hard to make those changes, but to listen to and be open-minded to what it is, um, to help with your mind shift. That's what these calls are on Monday morning. I don't profess. Now, Kylan, plug your ears so you don't hear this part. I don't profess
Not
to
a
be always,
chance. You don't profess what? What was that?
I don't profess to be always right, but on that off chance that I am wrong, um, not having a fixed mindset and being able to say, hey, I need to change this. I need to work on this. I'm not repeating that, so hope you heard it the first time.
Oh, it's recorded
Oh,
forever
thanks.
and
Great.
ever in history. Well, so Rebecca, what about how do we overcome some of these barriers? We just talked about the six pillars as, coaching through that as a potential way of doing that. Another thing that I believe is very critical in overcoming any barrier to personal growth is realizing that you only see one perspective. We only see one perspective. And that is so often the perspective that we've been taught, that we believe, that we stand sound on. And even if it's true, even if it has the fundamental elements of truth attached to it, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take the time to learn from someone else's perspective. And I'll give an example here. This actually took place a few years ago, and it was actually on a school board debate. And, a lot of people have different opinions about, the school board and what should be allowed in school, what shouldn't be allowed in school. And, Rebecca, you and I have opinions about that. We talk about it. Of course, Dan, being one of our representatives on the state, he has an opinion. Very, been a part of that for years. Um, but in this situation, there was a debate going on in the school boards about what should and should not be allowed to be taught to the younger children. And we won't get into a lot of detail, but one of the things that I mentioned to those that were going to the state school board meeting is, what if we took the time, instead of just standing up and expressing our own thoughts and opinions, what if we took the time to try and listen to understand? Maybe it's a discussion in the hallway with a person who has an opposing view, and you're not there to debate them, but you're there to learn from them. Why do they believe what they believe? What is their belief fundamentally, and why do they believe that? I challenged a person at one point in time to go into a meeting like that and ask those questions, be willing to engage. And what they found out is that a lot of the people that were voting a specific way had been very abused, they had been abused at home when they were younger, when they were young children. They did not have a good family household. They did not grow up in a safe environment. So their safe environment was the school because their home was not a safe environment for them. And when we stand up and we fight and argue and debate in a certain way because we don't really understand someone else's perspective, then we may be causing more damage than good. Sometimes just simply taking a moment to learn to understand another perspective won't change your views per se. I'm not saying that it should change your views, but it allows you to see a different perspective and maybe change your approach. Because that's the one thing I've learned when, working in the water industry in all the different states. I've worked with Republicans and Democrats and independents and different organizations that have different beliefs, and it's very, very important that you have the opportunity to really step in, know where someone's coming from, and listen to what they believe. And that will allow you then to more engage with them or represent them in a different way, if that makes sense. And that can be
Yes.
that can help us with our growth and ultimately lead to better outcomes and better decisions.
Yeah. So I think in a long roundabout way, um, talking about what we can do to overcome some of these barriers is to one to be focused, to know what it is, to have a growth, view challenges as learning experiences. When you have a challenge in your life, it's a learning experience. Be able to listen, be able to listen to somebody else's, just because you have opposing views does not mean that you know you can't get along. It doesn't mean, it means that you have opposing views, and you actually you take into consideration either each other's views. It doesn't mean that you're going to change yours. It doesn't mean that they're going to change theirs, but maybe there is something that they say that you're like, oh yeah, I never really thought of that.
Yeah.
And so to be a little bit open-minded, to have a plan, if you need to, schedule time to sit down and reflect and think about the things that you're going to change, then schedule time. Literally put it in your calendar for 30 minutes to sit down in the morning and reflect on the last week. Maybe you do it every Monday morning. Maybe you do it every morning. I don't know, but literally put it in your calendar and schedule it.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's important to have those things, planned out. It's important to take these things seriously, as you're coming together and finding ways to build solutions. If you're truly solutions minded, if you're truly growth minded, you're going to be willing to see another perspective. You're going to be willing to ask the questions. Our country used to be able to debate opposing views, and then when the people spoke, we stepped in and we were happy. We were joyful to be a part of the majority and work together as a team. And that came from knowing how to collaborate, knowing how to say, hey, I don't agree with everything, but I'm very open to learning. I want to get good at this. I want to become better. And that's something that I think is huge for opportunity.
Well, here's some other barriers that we didn't talk. Um, comparing ourselves to others, um, fear of change, emotional blind spots, and here's a big one is a lack of honest feedback. you
Mm,
know, somebody or somebody gives you feedback and says, "Hey, I noticed you were doing this," and in your mind you're like, it's not a big deal. It's not, I don't think I really do that all the time. If you have a lack of honest feedback, if you're not being honest with yourself, then yes, that will be a huge barrier for any of your steps of personal development. I mean, your personal, what's it start with? Personal development. It starts with you. And if you're not honest with yourself, it doesn't matter if you're honest with anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to start with you.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, we got a good crowd on with our Zoom list today. So we'd love to get some feedback from those that are able, willing to step in and give some thoughts on this amazing topic. Maybe nobody has any thoughts. Maybe we've covered all the barriers, Rebecca.
And
We've just fixed all the problems here.
either that or we have completely confused him because this was kind of a
Well, it can be a little bit confusing, when you think about what stops us. What stops us, it can be confusing. And the stories that I told are, they were political based stories, but it happens everywhere. It happens in schools, it happens in churches, it happens in every area of life,
relationships.
relationships, one-on-one relationships. It happens in business, obviously, and you have to be willing to learn. In fact, I wish I would have brought my beach ball in. I've got a beach ball out in the car that we use as a prop, but the beach ball has 6 different colors on it, and you can only see 3 colors, though, at the most. When you look at the beach ball, the person looking at it can only see 3 colors. The person on the other side of the beach ball can only see 3 colors. It's the same beach ball, but you can only see the perspective that you're looking at. That's all you can see. And it's not until you decide to turn the ball to look at the bottom that you can see all the different colors, that you can see all the different perspectives. And that means you have to be intentional. You have to change the view. You have to change your you have to be willing to step up and change how you see things. In fact, there's an old saying that when you change the way you see things, the things you see change. And that's part of what we have to get very, very good at is learning how to see things differently. That way we can make the most informed and best decisions, which is not always easy to do.
So here's my analogy, and this is something that I have to work on. I mean, um, so when I love taking pictures of landscape. I love, I love to see the beauty that's out there. But it's really funny because I will see an old dilapidated barn that's falling it down, it's just hanging by, and I will see a beautiful picture in that. I will see this beautiful barn and the wood and everything else. And when it comes to people, that's how I need to see people. Because sometimes when I see people, I don't visualize the best of them. I don't visualize this beautiful wood, the beautiful pieces, but I visualize, sometimes it's brokenness, sometimes it's ugliness. It's so I need to see the way I visualize, you know, landscapes and something that somebody may look at and go, that's just dusty, dirty, tumbleweed, no grass, brown, and you put a sunset behind it and it's this beautiful field. And so perspective, that's I got that from perspective. The way that you see things, awareness is the same way. Your perspective on awareness, that it you have to change your view.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
my little piece of philosophy there.
Absolutely. All right. One last chance here for those of you on the Zoom call, if you want to share some thoughts.
Senator, morning.
Daniel,
Good
hey
morning.
Dan, how you doing, buddy?
I was listening about discerning and reflecting, and kind of in a joking manner. I told one of the priests that I need to take a little bit of holy water with me of discerning and reflecting to the legislator because I think there's a few of them that could use a little bit so they could be able to communicate a little bit better. I had to drive the demons out. But I think your
Oh,
topic is awesome from a standpoint of we all need to understand if we're going to all be in this thing together, we need to bring thoughts to the table, but we have to have an open mind to understand it's not all about you.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what I've seen so much so far, even down, being in Lincoln for a month. There's just the majority of them are pretty good, but it's one of those things that you need to be understanding we're doing this for the right reasons. It's just not for you. And being aware of what you're doing, who you're representing, I think all these things you've talked about are spot on.
yep, yep, absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know,
Dan.
talking about that piece of doing it for the right reasons, that's, one of the things that we talk about in our business is where are we going and why did we want it? A lot of these people who maybe start businesses or get into relationships forget sometimes why they're doing it. They lose that vision of it. Um, when I used to work on the chamber board, I said, when was the last time you guys went over your goals or what your dreams were for this town? And they said, oh, it's probably been 5 years. And they had lost the vision of it.
Yeah. Dan, when you went in to represent us in the state of Nebraska, you went in with a vision. When you went in with a goal and an outcome that you desire for the people. And I think that's very important. If you don't have that vision, you don't have that goal, what are you going to be able to really, really focus on and help with? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's too many people that have their blinders on
Hmm.
and they don't have awareness there. And the thing is that they have an agenda, and that's the thing about it. There's a difference between agenda and having a mission to help the people.
Right. Right. Yep. Totally, totally agree. Well, Dan, we sure appreciate you being on this morning and the work that you're doing in office. So thank you very much, and you have our support as you move things forward. So we look forward to hearing what comes from it. Uh,
Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'm introducing a couple bills this week, so we've got hearings till the middle of March, and so yeah, there's going to be more nasty debate coming. So be aware.
understand. David Sloan, I see you're unmuted. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's really interesting. I wasn't going to talk, and then I thought, well, politics has come into it. But being Australian, I obviously didn't grow up with this political system, and I can't vote, and so I've just been a fly on the wall. But it's been fascinating to watch. But what this obviously a big state of flux right now, and the other thing is, I work in ruby red rural America, and I live in a big city of 3 million people.
Hmm.
And so, which is very, very blue. And so I get all the perspectives.
Yep.
And it really pays to say nothing and watch. But what I've seen is that um, change, everyone has thrown their arms up in the air and said, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. But I'm looking at it and purposefully keeping an open mind. And it's when you don't object to change for change's sake, or for being it's it's really interesting. It has definitely changed my view on a lot of things, but
Yep.
it's just I've consciously kept an open mind and looked at things and what you thought couldn't be. Obviously, there's deeply held, that's a way half the country sees it. So half the country can't be wrong in a lot of cases. But then the other half of the country says it that's not possible or it's not how it should be. And it's just very interesting. I watching and purposefully keeping an open mind on everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure. Well, and David, and we're going to have to jump here. We're at the end of our time, but David, you and I work in a very emotional, driven industry in agriculture, water, and we see a lot of that same type of thing there. The water industry is very emotional, even very political. in different cases. And it's very important in the roles that you and I have that we learn to understand, regardless of their viewpoints, of our clients' viewpoints. It's important for us to understand that there's two different perspectives, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So even in our workplace, you see the same type of thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, you can't do that," and it's like, why? Why can't you do that?
Right,
Why do you keep doing things the way you've always done them?
right,
Why?
right.
And um, so yeah, but it is fascinating. And the whole time you were talking, I was just thinking of my experience just with politics in recently. It's If you keep an open mind, you can sort of start to see things from all perspectives.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Rebecca, this has been a great topic. We do appreciate everybody jumping in today. We had a good group from both perspectives, from the Zoom side and from our live stream side. We've had great response. So, thank you so much for everybody jumping in and being a part of this. One last plug, Rebecca, for our 3i Life event.
Yep,
Let
coming
everybody
up
know.
February 27th in Kearney. It's our Living a 3i Life conference, and it's just meaning what does it mean to live a 3i life and
Let's,
increase your
Rebecca,
impact and your income.
absolutely. And Rebecca, would you be willing to take our link and put it in the comments for these live streams that are out on LinkedIn and Facebook?
I will do that.
That would be great. And that way everybody can have access to that. We'd love to have you guys there. If you know of anyone, if you can't be there, but you know of someone that you'd like to have there because it would be a great training for them. It's
I
a
will tell
lot.
you,
It's a,
sorry to
it's,
interrupt, this is at no cost to you.
it's free.
So, yeah,
A free live event, one day only, and guarantee you're going to take some really powerful things away from this. So, all right. Hey, Britt has her hand up. Britt, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's not our 3i Life event is not just for business owners. It's for
right.
everyone.
Very true.
Kind
Very,
of
very, very
interesting,
true.
some of the feedback I'm getting on social media when I'm asking about just general personal development. So many people think it's just for business owners, and it's not,
Yep.
which
Yep.
blows my mind because it says personal development right in the words, but never mind.
What date did you say that was?
February 27th.
Yep. February 27th, 3i Life, one day event.
Holiday Inn Convention Center in Kearney.
Yep. Rebecca is going to be speaking on influence. Britt will be speaking on impact, and I will be speaking on income. So we got a lot of great things planned. Okay. Any other
All right.
thoughts, comments, questions, Rebecca? We got to jump to another web meeting.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. God bless everybody. Make it
Have a great week.
Make it a great week. See ya.